This evening on Nationwide, as the gathering gets into gear, we focus on the connections between Ireland and Australia. We travel down under to the state of Victoria to get the full story of the life and times of Australia's best known Irish descendant, Ned Kelly. We see the places associated with Ned, and we follow the DNA trail which has confirmed that remains found in a mass grave in Melbourne are his. But what's to happen to them now?
This evening we're coming to you from a small village in County Tipperary. It's a place that I'd say very few people outside of the Premier County will be familiar with, and yet it's a village that has strong associations with Australia's most famous outlaw. We're in Moydlass in County Tipperary. It's about 10 miles west of Cashel. However, unlike Cashel, which attracts tens of thousands of visitors every year, very few tourists make their way here to Moydlass, despite the fact that Ned Kelly's people come from right here.
Ned Kelly is Australia's most famous figure of legend and folklore. He was hanged after being shot and injured during a shootout in 1870. Kelly and his gang wore protective armour made from stolen plough parts. This is the world's first full-length feature film, made in 1906. It's called The Story of the Kelly Gang.
It's probably safe to say that we all know of Ned Kelly, but it's also true, I think, that a lot of us know very little about Ned Kelly. So here in Moydlass, the whole of the family tree of one of the world's most well-known outlaws is laid out on the wall of the village inn, which is associated with Ned Kelly. And Terry Cunningham, who's a local historian, has all the information. Terry, he really is a fascinating hero, anti-hero.
He is. Well, of course, Ned Kelly in Australia, you know, is a big story. And then his father, of course, was John Kelly, and John was from right here where we are standing. And he himself was a bio, John Kelly. And so we see here, you see the family tree where John Red, because there was two John Kellys on the transport boat, so one of them, to distinguish, they called one of them John Red. And so he was there, John Red Kelly, and his parents were Thomas Kelly and Mary Cody, and they're the people, you know, that are on the plot, listed on the plot, owning the little plot of land. He stole 2 pigs. He was also involved with a bit of cow stealing, and so he got 7 years transportation, went out to Australia, well, was sent to Australia. Then when he got released after 7 years, he got married, Ellen Quinn, and one of their sons was Ned, the famous Ned Kelly. Yeah.
And you bring people on this trail, don't you, to show them?
I do, yeah, I do. Myself and another mate, we have started, you know, we call it Backs to the Wall touring company, and we bring people in different tours, and one of them is the Kelly country, yeah.
Well, I'd like to see the Kelly country. Will you bring me?
No better man.
All right,
no better
come on,
man.
let's go. Don't do that.
In 1840, John Red Kelly lived with his large family in this field.
Now, Mary, this is the 1840 map
Of this area?
of this area, and this is the Griffith valuation, which shows the plots, everyone's plots, and who was living in the plots. And there 3B there is Tom Kelly, and he had less than half an acre there of little gardens, just right inside this gate.
Just inside this gate?
Just inside this gate.
Gosh, so that was the original homestead.
Of where John Kelly was born, and his father was Tom Kelly, and it's listed under Tom Kelly, and that's all. And obviously there were 7 children on less than half an acre, so they were obviously cottiers, farm labourers, living on a very tight schedule.
Hand to mouth.
Hand to mouth, I really think.
All that's left now is the plaque to mark the spot.
That is all at this point here. That is all that is left.
Good.
Our next stop is the site where Ned Kelly's father John was baptised. Now it's the home of Carla Blake and her family.
The new church in Moydlass was built in 1837 or 39, so before that this was the church.
And that's where the Ned Kelly connection comes in, isn't that right, Terry?
Yeah, that's right. So this was the church when he was around, when John Kelly, that's Ned's father, when he was here, when he was born, and he was baptised here, and the records show that, and even his parents were married here a year earlier. It says here, on the 20th of February, John of Thomas Kelly and Mary Cody. And because there's actually very good records here in Moydlass. They go right back to 1740, which is really unusual.
So, Carla, growing up, were you conscious of the Ned Kelly connections?
I knew about it from a very young age. We would have had callers here through the years. People who would have liked to have seen what went on here before, kind of see the site, who wanted to know the story. Yeah, it's been a couple of interesting years here.
And was he a hero or an outlaw?
Oh, he was a hero to my glass. He might have been an outlaw in Australia, but he was a hero to us. He put us on the map.
At the age of 20, John Kelly had a run-in with the law that was to put him on the transportation ship to Tasmania. And the story starts here, at a cottage sandwiched between the M8 motorway and the old Dublin to Cashel road.
So this is it, Terry. An important location.
This is an important location. This was the home of James Cooney, who owned the 2 pigs that were stolen, that got John Kelly transported for 7 years.
So this was a little farm.
It was a very small plot, really, small farm plot, yeah. Labourer plot too.
John Kelly, the father of Ned, stole the 2 pigs from here.
The 2 pigs were stolen from here, and the wife reported it to the local police station in New Park. And they were found, and he was found, for John, for stealing the pigs. He had driven them to Clare to a fair, and no mean feat, 14 miles driving 2 pigs, and they ended up in Carrick-on-Suir. But they were got back, the pigs came back, and of course for that, for stealing the 2 pigs, poor John got his 7 years transportation.
This is Mary's house.
You couldn't visit this part of Tipperary without popping in to see a Kelly descendant. Mary Fleming, née Kelly, of Coolmore, is said to be a distant relative.
Hello. Nice to meet you. So, Mary, your maiden name was Kelly, and
Yes.
you're part of the famous or the infamous Kellys.
Yes.
Were you conscious of that kind of growing up?
No. It wasn't spoken about. My father and mother never spoke about it.
There's a lot of talk about it now, though,
Oh, there
isn't
is an awful lot to talk about it now, yes. Yeah.
And do you think that's good?
Oh, it is, of course. Yeah.
Will there be many people around this area who would have Kelly connections?
By chance, 6 of that family of John who stole the pigs, 6 went to Australia, which left 1. And to be honest, we don't know what happened to 1. But all we know is he was there. So the exact connections haven't been made exactly, because there was a couple of families of Kellys, and in fact there was Kellys married to Kellys.
Mary, you've a big family. You reared 9 children of your own.
Yes.
And how many grandchildren have you got?
22.
And have you great-grandchildren?
19.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So do you think it'd be good for them to have a sense of this history of Ned Kelly and the
Oh,
Kelly
yes,
family?
very much.
We've come full circle, Terry. We started out at the Village Inn in Moydglass, and we're back now, thankfully, inside the Village Inn, because it's got very nippy outside. Just to finish off the story of Ned's father, John. He stole the pigs, he was caught, arrested, and taken where?
He was arrested, charged in Cashel, and then he was taken to Dublin. He was put on board a ship in Dublin, and he waited around a few months on a ship, actually. And then he was shipped out in 1841 under Prince Regent for Van Diemen's Land. And then he spent 7 years there as a semi-prisoner working on farms. It was kind of, we'll call it an open prison. And then he was released. He got his ticket of leave after 7 years, and then he was a free man. But, of course, 20,000 miles away, you know.
Yeah. So he married?
He did. And then, yes, when he was 30, he married an Ellen Quinn. She'd come out as a young girl from Antrim, from County Antrim. And they married, and they had 8 children. One of them, of course, who was the famous Ned Kelly. And I suppose how we know that exactly, that we come back to my glass, was that his youngest child, John's youngest girl, was Grace, and he registered her himself. And the register shows he was asked, he was from my glass in Tipperary. So that's what brings the story back here.
Yeah. I was saying at the beginning of the programme that there really is an awful lot of tourism potential to be tapped here in Moydglass. There is, isn't there?
Well, there is. It's a big story. It's a worldwide story. I mean, obviously there's been films and books and paintings and plays. So, yeah, there is. The story is there, you know, and then now it's what, of course, we all make of it. Yeah.
Perfect for the gathering?
Perfect for the gathering. It is indeed. There's a lot of Kellys in the world. There's a lot of us Irish in Australia. And, yeah, it's a direct link back here.
After the break, the mortal remains of Ned Kelly. He was hanged more than 130 years ago, and now tests have confirmed that remains found buried in a prison yard are in fact those of Ned Kelly. But the question is, what's to happen to them now? Don't go away, all will be revealed in a couple of minutes.